from dispensaries and retail places that show people over 50 or 60 are actually coming in and the sorts of things that they're buying. But the way that that's being handled is primarily, these are your problems, and these are the things that we're going to address with you. We'll load you on a bus and bring you to the dispensary, and you can talk to the people that are there. And that is pretty much the extent of would amount to community education, maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, efforts at community education. For me, that's a fail. That's a fail because there are lots of people who don't want that kind of experience. Certainly not even at the beginning, and those experiences, best I can tell, miss large portions of the demographic,
Yeah. What experiences do you think should be involved in getting to know cannabis?
I think there should be a variety, and they should range. They should target different segments of the population. There is the community level, and just as we have seen during COVID time that health inequities exist, those have to be acknowledged and different procedures, strategies set up to reach different segments of the population. I mean, because there are people who are not going to necessarily buy from the existing market.
What kind of people wouldn't want to buy from the existing market?
Well, when I say the existing market, I'm not talking about the medical market. I'm talking about the legacy market. That market is there. It's been there. It's not going anywhere.
Is that where a lot of people are still finding like their comfort is just buying sort of, underground?
Well, if you have someone that you've dealt with for 10 years that you can rely upon, what's the difference in continuing to deal with that person and dealing with someone in a dispensary? It's definitely something to consider, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, it's not really something that I'd thought about before, having a relationship already with the plant. And I guess how do new products and new brands entice people away from that who are not quite comfortable with this huge big marketplace that we're seeing? Like, it feels very overwhelming just to me, and I'm in my early 30s and I am incredibly interested in the growing cannabis industry, and just to me there's too many products. I don't know where to start. I don't know what would be good for me. The dosing seems weird. Yes. You know what I mean? Like, there's just very little guidance. And from the different bud tenders who give me their perspective and friends who sort of tell me they liked this product and that product, I often just end up going with flower, sour diesel, OG Kush, something that I know from my teenage years. You're right. I'm not, I guess I'm realizing now I'm not really somebody who loves change. So how do you think that brands can work better to connect with people?
Well, I thought initially that I've been in the health and wellness area talking about midlife and change and, the longevity quotient, who wants to live a long time if they can't live healthily? And wow, here we have like legalized cannabis. How can that play a role in helping us live a healthier, longer life? Like I was interested in this from the beginning. But I have not had brands chasing after me to help to be a bridge to my community of people for whom the science of the plant is important. We have other reasons to be concerned besides pure enjoyment. So I want to know if the plant is pure. I want to know how to dose myself properly. I want to really know where it came from. Yes, I could deal with someone on the street, but I'm not really going to do that because I'm concerned about what I'm putting into my lungs. And the dispensaries are supposed to be the safeguard, between that and me. So the questions that you ask are important. And in my opinion, that's how brands could be more forthcoming and more inviting by helping people understand that what's in two bottles that are the same size are not necessarily the same dosage. It took me a while. I didn't know that. I thought I had two 30-milliliter bottles and that a stopper full was the same. Right. I didn't know that that was different. And now I'm also involved with a small group of doctors that I've pulled together who are endocannabinoids, who they know the endocannabinoid system, they know the biome, they know about the physiology of the human body. You can bring your medical records to them. They can look at your DNA. So there are lots of us who want to have that personalized medicine incorporated with our existing medicine.
If you're loving what we do here at Different Leaf, make sure you're subscribed to our podcast wherever you're listening right now, and follow us on Instagram at Different Leaf so you can get a sneak peek at the pages of our beautiful cannabis magazine. Go to differentleaf.com to get 4 issues for $20. Let's talk about where people can start with learning the science. The group that you've put together, I'm assuming one of them is named Dr. Knox, because there are many Dr. Knox from the family, and they're all amazing.
Yes, they are.
So, I mean, are these kind of groups that people can look to learn more about cannabis science?
Yes. What we have done is put together a group called Mother's Hands, and we actually held our first Clubhouse event. It will be 2 weeks this coming Sunday, and it was essentially devil's lettuce or herbal medicine. And the idea really is to hopefully garner some interest, because you can't really just talk about cannabis without talking about the health of the community. And the idea is really to try and bring the conversation from the level of people who are doing business, who the conversation is just about the business of cannabis, to a community level where people can actually ask questions like, my child was born with X, Y, and Z. We're trying to figure out what to do. I saw a doctor. The doctor charged me this amount of money. This was a question that really came up during the Clubhouse session. And the amount was $650 for a referral, and so the question was, is that a reasonable amount? Now, there were 3 doctors, because Dr. Patricia Fry is also another doctor out of Maryland who from the Tacoma Care clinics. And Dr. Jones was also a participant. But in the room, there were at least 5 other doctors in the audience. But the hope is really that we can figure out ways to develop clusters of trusted information so that people who are not necessarily on Clubhouse every day or not on Instagram every day, how to get the information to people where they feel comfortable that they're being told the truth about it, and where they can use what they're being told, not just what they're being sold, but what the information that's being shared with them, how to make better decisions about living a healthier life.
For those that are listening that don't know, Clubhouse is an app that you can get on your phone, and it's basically like a big phone call that you can drop in on and listen in on, where people are having conversations about specific subjects, and you can kind of come in and out and mute yourself and join in the discussion. So those are really interesting places that, as technology changes, we're starting to be able to connect in these different ways. Instagram lives have become really big for education in the cannabis space. There's a lot of people that I follow that do live conversations with the audience, and doctors that will do sort of Q&As. So these are some great places that people can get started learning about the science of how to, negotiate cannabis into their lives and their next phase of wellness. What do you think it's important for people of your age group to know about when they're starting to re-enter the world of cannabis. Maybe the last time they tried it was in high school, and they want to get back into it, but now it looks completely different. Do you have some advice, maybe some guidance for them?
It is really different, though, because when we were 19 years of age, as far as I can understand, the THC quantity in most of the herb, as we used to call it, herb, was like 3% or something. And now it's, 20 or sometimes more than that. I've seen on paper that there are larger amounts than that. Mm-hmm. And so I think that we have to sort of begin to come out of the closet about our interests. I initially wrote an ebook called Asking for a Friend because as I was talking about what I was interested in knowing, my friends would never ask a question publicly, but they would call me up, or even young friends would call me up and say, I have a friend whose mother is in early stage dementia. Can you talk to my friend, and talk to her about the possibility of cannabis for... Now, I'm not a doctor and I don't pretend to be one, but I do know a lot of people. Over the 3 years, I've spent a lot of time trying to understand who knows what and how to be a good connector and how to be a good communicator. One of my gifts is that I am able to decode difficult concepts for a range of audiences. And I feel at this point in my life, it's something that I should do. I want to do that, I do. I really want to do that. And I will do it even if I don't get paid.
It's just your passion, right?
Yeah, because I really think that what is life if you cannot be healthy, And if the cannabis plant, which we all know, which we've all learned really, is as compatible, simpatico, with who we are, like essentially, then I think it behooves us to try and learn as much about it and to figure out how it can help us be more of who we are and be the best person that we are too.
What we got to do is maybe open up the conversation a little bit and take away some of that stigma and be okay with discussing it with each other.
I really think that intergenerational conversations are key to that process as well, because there are a lot of older people who believe that that's where they're going to get their best information from the young, but they might not come to the young to get it, but they like to be in community with the young, I think that we have to talk about it in lots of different places, the church, in bookstores, in public housing places. I mean, these are all places where the vast majority of people, and when I say the vast majority of people, I'm talking more class than anything else, they're not being educated. Right. The masses are not being educated about all these sort of choir conversations that we're having.
Yeah, I'm realizing now that this intergenerational conversation is really key, because I have been one of the main connectors for my parents, and they have been connectors for their friends and their siblings. And my dad, who is a doctor, he's a retired doctor. He was a doctor of osteopathy for, I don't know, close to 40, 50 years, something crazy. And he is now able to learn a whole new hobby, which is cannabinoid science. Right. He sends me, newspaper clippings on interesting new research articles he's found. He discusses it with other doctors that he went to medical school with, and this is how kind of knowledge and information spreads. I think that you're right that it does come from, I guess, any generation, but people who really are interested and have a passion about the plant, connecting with the people around them to spread that knowledge,
right,
and to open up those doors.
It's like the underside of a glacier, because we're actually engaged in a process of change right now. I don't know. It's like the edge, like you get right to the top of a roller coaster and you don't really know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's exciting. Yeah. And well, thank you so much, Miss Patricia, for taking the time to talk to me.
It's been a delight.
Is there somewhere on social media that people can find you or reach out to you and find your podcast?
Sure. I have a podcast. I'm in the second season. It's called Me and Mary Jane. You'll see my face. So